The lights of Sterling Tower glittered like a crown over the city, its glass walls reflecting the hum of traffic far below. It was late, long past the hours when executives and interns rushed through the lobby with coffee in hand. At that hour, only the quiet hum of after-hours maintenance remained. The floors gleamed, desks sat abandoned, and the heartbeat of the city seemed to slow inside the towering skyscraper. On the 50th floor, Malik Washington guided his cleaning cart down the polished marble hallway. At 28, he'd grown used to these nights, pushing the cart, emptying trash, whistling soft tunes under his breath to make the silence less heavy. To anyone else, he was just a janitor. But Malik carried more inside him than his blue uniform revealed. During the day, he was a student of physical therapy, racing toward the dream of helping people reclaim their lives after devastating injuries. At night, he earned his rent by scrubbing the offices of those who never noticed him. He was about to finish when a glow of light caught his attention. The corner office, the grandest space in the building, was still lit. The door stood slightly ajar, and papers covered the massive desk inside. Behind it sat a woman whose reputation stretched across the business world, Cassandra Sterling, billionaire CEO of Sterling Industries. She was called the Ice Queen in magazines, known for her ruthless decisions and dazzling intelligence. But as Malik peered inside, she didn't look like the woman from headlines. Her face was pale with fatigue, her shoulders hunched, and next to her wheelchair sat bottles of pain medication. She looked up when Malik gently knocked. Her voice, tired yet sharp, cut through the silence. "Come in." He hesitated. "Sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to disturb you." "It's fine," she said with a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'll be here all night anyway." Malik stepped in, glancing at the piles of documents. He'd read about her accident, 6 months earlier. A skiing collision had shattered her spine. Doctors said she'd never walk again. The business press whispered Sterling Industries would collapse without her full strength. Yet here she was, working 18-hour days, refusing to let weakness show. "Long night?" Malik asked quietly, sensing her exhaustion. Her laugh was brittle. "Every night is long when you have a board of vultures waiting to see you fail." He noticed how her hands trembled, how she pressed her temple against the pain. His training, still fresh from textbooks and late night study sessions, told him something more than fatigue haunted her body. He took a cautious step closer. "With respect, when's the last time you had a proper break?" She blinked at him, startled by the personal question from a janitor. "Breaks are luxuries I can't afford, Mr. Washington." Malik Washington. He straightened, speaking gently but firmly. "But with all respect, burnout won't help you prove anything to anyone." Her lips tightened. "I appreciate the concern, but I'm fine." Malik's eyes lingered on her rigid posture, the shallow breaths, the tension she carried. He knew the signs. He'd seen them in patients described in his medical training. 6 months post-injury, she should have made more progress. Instead, it looked as though she was pushing herself toward collapse. "I don't mean to overstep," he said carefully, "but are you doing any rehabilitation exercises?" Her bitter laugh filled the office. "Mr. Washington, I've seen the best specialists money can buy. They all told me the same thing. I'll never walk again. So, no. I'm not wasting time on false hope." Malik's jaw tightened. He could almost hear his professor's voices in his head. Incomplete injuries didn't always mean permanent paralysis. Something inside him stirred, not pity, but professional conviction. "May I ask what type of spinal injury you sustained?" "Why does it matter?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. "Because not all injuries are the same." She hesitated, then exhaled. "Incomplete T12 fracture." Malik's eyes widened. "Then there is hope." Incomplete T12 injuries often respond to rehabilitation if given the right therapy. Who told you there was none? Dr. Harrison, Presbyterian Hospital, best neurosurgeon in the city. He may be the best at surgery. Malik replied steadily, but recovery requires something different. Consistent therapy, targeted exercises, time. Miss Sterling. He paused, locking eyes with her. I can help you walk again. The words hung between them like a spark in the dark. Cassandra's expression froze, disbelief written across her face. Excuse me. I'll help you walk, if you're willing to trust me. His voice was calm, but underneath it carried a quiet certainty. You're a janitor, she whispered. I'm also 8 months from graduating as a licensed physical therapist, Malik said. I've studied spinal recovery extensively. I've seen patients with your injury walk again. It's not easy, but it's possible. She studied his face, searching for signs of mockery or delusion. Instead, she found steady determination. Why would you help me? What's in it for you? Malik considered the question. Because everyone deserves the chance to fight for their dreams. And because I became a therapist to help people others have given up on. Something flickered in Cassandra's eyes, something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Fragile, dangerous, but alive. She looked down at her hands, then back at the janitor who dared to speak what her doctors would not. She whispered, almost to herself. You're serious. Completely serious, Malik said. But it starts with one thing. You have to believe it's possible. The silence stretched long in the office. Beyond the glass windows, the city lights blinked, unaware that in this quiet room, a promise had just been made. One that would change 2 lives forever. The next morning, Cassandra tried to dismiss the conversation as nothing more than fatigue-induced fantasy. A janitor promising miracles. It was absurd. Yet as she wheeled herself into the boardroom, the memory of Malik's confident voice lingered. The board members droned on about quarterly projections, about risks, about her limitations. Cassandra forced her mind to focus, but her thoughts drifted. For months, every expert she had consulted gave her the same verdict: permanent paralysis. But Malik, a man with no financial stake, had spoken with a conviction that unsettled her. Could he be right? By noon, she realized she hadn't heard half of what had been said. Patricia Winters, the board's sharpest critic, snapped at her. Cassandra, are you even listening? Of course. Cassandra lied, scrambling. The Morrison contract needs revision. Patricia's eyebrows rose. We moved past Morrison 20 minutes ago. We're on quarterly projections. The room filled with tense silence. Cassandra's cheeks burned. She straightened her posture, masking embarrassment with steel. Then let's continue. But inside, she felt the crack in her armor widening. That evening, she worked late again. Around 11, there was a knock at her office door. Cassandra looked up, half expecting her assistant. Instead, Malik stood there, holding a folder thick with papers. What report? She asked, suspicious. On your condition, Malik said simply. I spent the day researching incomplete T12 fractures. With your permission, I'd like to show you. She hesitated, then gestured for him to enter. Malik spread the documents across her desk. Articles from medical journals, hand-drawn diagrams of spinal pathways, detailed notes. These are legitimate sources, Cassandra murmured, scanning the pages. Yes, Malik said. And they show that intensive, targeted therapy can restore significant function. It's not guaranteed, but it's possible. Cassandra looked at him, torn between skepticism and intrigue. Why do you care so much? Because I know what it feels like to lose everything. Malik answered softly. When my wife died in a car accident 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. But I had my daughter, Amara. I had to rebuild. For her. I don't believe in giving up, Miss Sterling. Not for myself, and not for you." For a moment, Cassandra couldn't speak. She studied him, the earnest expression, the quiet strength. He wasn't selling her false hope. He was offering belief. "Even if I agreed," she said finally, "this would never be appropriate. You're a janitor. I'm the CEO of this company. Then don't think of me as a janitor," Malik said, voice steady. "Think of me as a student with the knowledge and determination to help. Think of it as a partnership. You help me gain experience. I help you fight for recovery." Cassandra leaned back in her chair, torn between fear and possibility. No one had dared to challenge her despair before. And that made Malik dangerous, because he made her want to hope again. "When would we start?" she asked before she could stop herself. "Tomorrow morning," Malik said. 6 a.m., before the building wakes." Cassandra's pulse quickened. She should have said no. Instead, she whispered, "Fine. But if this becomes a distraction—" "It won't," Malik promised. The next morning, he arrived with a portable massage table and a duffel bag of equipment. Cassandra's assistant Janet eyed him nervously. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered to her boss. "Let them talk," Cassandra replied, though her stomach fluttered. "Close the door." Malik sat up quickly, his movements efficient. "We'll start with assessments," he explained. "Testing sensation reflexes, range of motion. Nothing dramatic." As he guided her through simple exercises, Cassandra felt a surprising mix of vulnerability and trust. His touch was professional, his instructions calm. "Good," he murmured. "I'm detecting sensation in areas your doctors marked as unresponsive. Your left leg shows more potential than reported." Her breath caught.
"Are you sure? Positive?"
"Now, close your eyes. Focus on your right foot. Try to wiggle your toes." Cassandra concentrated. At first nothing. Then a flicker, the faintest twitch. Her eyes flew open. "Did you see that?" "I did." Malik's smile was radiant. "Minimal, but definite neural activity. Miss Sterling, your body is more responsive than anyone realized." Oh, for the first time in 6 months, Cassandra's heart surged with cautious joy. In the weeks that followed, their sessions became the highlight of her days. Each morning, Malik arrived with calm determination, pushing her further than she believed possible. Progress was slow, sometimes invisible. But then came small miracles, faint sensations, tiny movements, muscles firing that had lain dormant. More than the physical changes, Cassandra noticed the shift inside herself. The Ice Queen facade began to crack. She laughed again, even if briefly. She dared to imagine futures she had long buried. One morning, as Malik adjusted her position, Cassandra admitted softly, "I didn't think about work for a whole hour today." "That hasn't happened since the accident." "That's good," Malik replied. "Healing isn't just about muscles. It's about the mind. The body listens to hope more than despair." She tilted her head. "Where did you learn to speak like that?" Malik's hands stilled for a moment. "Personal experience. After Maya died, I had to learn to walk again emotionally. My daughter Amara was my therapy. She gave me reason to believe life wasn't over." Cassandra's chest tightened at the vulnerability in his voice. "You must love her very much." "She's my everything," Malik said with quiet pride. "She wants to be a doctor one day. Says she'll fix people like Daddy does." Something stirred in Cassandra, a warmth she hadn't known in years. She imagined the little girl who had given Malik strength, and for the first time, wondered what it might feel like to be part of a family again. 3 months into therapy, the unthinkable happened. During a routine exercise, Cassandra's leg lifted 3 inches off the table. "Malik, look," she gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I see it," he said, grinning so wide it seemed his face might split. "You just proved every doctor wrong." Her heart pounded. I actually moved my leg. This is just the beginning, Malik said. If you can do this, we can go so much further. Word spread quickly through the company. Some employees were inspired. Others whispered about impropriety. The gossip reached the boardroom, and Patricia Winters confronted her directly. This arrangement with the janitor is becoming a distraction. Patricia snapped. People are questioning your judgment. A powerful woman in a vulnerable state, he could be taking advantage. Assandra's voice turned ice cold. Has helping me regain what specialists declared impossible. If that's taking advantage, then every patient should be so lucky. But Patricia's warning echoed later in Cassandra's mind. Was she being naive? Or was Malik the only one who had ever truly believed in her? That night, when Malik arrived for their session, Cassandra admitted the confrontation. He listened silently, then said, "What do you think, Cassandra? Do you believe I'm here for anything other than helping you heal?" Her eyes met his. "No, I don't." And for the first time, she realized she wasn't just fighting to walk again. She was fighting to trust again. The rumors didn't stop. If anything, Cassandra's progress only fueled the fire. Some employees whispered admiration, others spread suspicion. The tabloids latched onto the story, splashing headlines like CEO and Janitor Scandal or Miracle across glossy covers. Cassandra tried to brush it off, but the whispers gnawed at her. She had spent her career projecting strength, precision, and control. Now, for the first time, she felt exposed, vulnerable. And yet, she couldn't deny what Malik had given her. More than therapy, he had given her hope. One evening, after an especially tense board meeting, she vented her frustration as Malik adjusted her exercise bands. "Patricia says you're positioning yourself for personal gain. Money, influence, whatever." Malik's hands froze, then resumed their steady work. "And what do you say?" "I say she's wrong," Cassandra replied firmly. Relief flickered in his eyes, but the hurt lingered. People like Patricia can't imagine helping without an agenda. That says more about them than me. Their eyes held for a long moment. Something unspoken hung in the air, trust deepening into something more fragile, more dangerous. Days turned into weeks, and with each session, Cassandra's strength grew. Her legs began to bear weight. She stood with assistance. Each milestone, though small, felt like a revolution. But it wasn't just physical progress. Their conversations lengthened beyond therapy. Malik told her about Amara, how she loved chocolate, chip pancakes, how she asked 1,000 questions before breakfast. Cassandra found herself smiling at the thought of the little girl, warmth spreading in places she thought long dead. One afternoon, while practicing balance, Cassandra surprised herself by asking, "Will I ever meet her?" Malik blinked. "Amara? Yes, she sounds extraordinary." He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "If you want to. But only if you're ready." Cassandra wasn't sure what she meant by ready. All she knew was that she wanted to know the girl who had given Malik his strength. 3 months after their first session, Cassandra accomplished what even she hadn't dared to imagine. With Malik's steady support, she stood unassisted for nearly 30 seconds. Her chest heaved, sweat poured down her brow, but she was standing. When she finally collapsed back into the chair, tears blurred her vision. Malik knelt in front of her, grinning like he'd witnessed a miracle. "You're rewriting your story, Cassandra. Step by step." Her voice cracked. "You believe in me more than I believe in myself. Then let me carry that belief until you can," he said, gently. That night, Cassandra couldn't sleep. For years, she had measured her worth by contracts won and profits secured. But Malik had shown her a different yardstick. The courage to fight, the vulnerability to trust, the hope to begin again. She thought of him constantly. His steady hands, his warm laugh. the quiet way he listened. And for the first time since the accident, she wondered, could she allow herself to care for someone beyond the walls of her office? The answer came sooner than expected. One Saturday, Malik invited her to the park. "Amara wants to meet you," he said softly. "She's been asking who the brave lady is that I'm helping to walk again." Cassandra's stomach tightened with nerves. She'd faced hostile takeovers, billion-dollar deals, and courtroom battles, but the thought of meeting a 5-year-old made her hands tremble. At the park, Amara bounded up in a yellow dress, pigtails bouncing. "Are you the lady my daddy is teaching to walk?" she asked boldly. Cassandra laughed nervously. "Yes, I am. Your daddy's helping me get stronger." Amara tilted her head, studying her. "Do your legs hurt?" "Sometimes," Cassandra admitted. "But your daddy helps them feel better." "Daddy fixes everything," Amara declared proudly. "He fixed me when I was sad about Mommy." Malik's eyes softened as he listened, but Cassandra's heart clenched. She reached out instinctively, and to her surprise, Amara climbed onto her lap without hesitation. By the end of the afternoon, the little girl was showing her how to braid doll hair and giggling uncontrollably when juice spilled across Cassandra's dress. Watching Malik with his daughter, Cassandra felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just about therapy anymore. It was about family, something she had never allowed herself to imagine. That night, she confessed quietly during a session. "Your daughter is remarkable," Malik smiled. "She likes you. And I like her too." Cassandra hesitated, then added, "And I like you, Malik, more than I should." The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken truths. Malik's voice was low when he finally replied, "I came here to help you walk again. I didn't expect to care this much. About your progress. About you." Her heart pounded. "What do we do?" "We be honest," he said simply. "We decide if we're brave enough to see where this goes, even if everyone else is watching, judging." Cassandra swallowed hard, then whispered, "Then let's be brave." Their relationship shifted from that moment. Therapy sessions turned into long conversations over coffee, shared meals, and moments where their hands lingered too long. Rumors escalated. Tabloids speculated, but Cassandra no longer cared. For the first time in years, she felt alive. Yet the outside world was not so forgiving. The business press painted her as reckless. CEO jeopardizes fortune over romance with janitor. Sterling Industries, stock dipped as whispers of scandal spread. And just when Cassandra thought the worst had passed, her fiercest competitor, Morrison Tech, launched a hostile takeover bid. The timing wasn't coincidence. They saw vulnerability and moved to strike. The board erupted in panic. Patricia wasted no time pouncing. "This is what happens when a leader loses focus," she hissed. "Your judgment is compromised. This relationship is a liability." Cassandra sat silent, her mind a storm. For years her empire had been everything. Now, for the first time, she faced losing it all, not just her company, but the respect she had clawed her way to earn. That night, Malik found her in her office. Tension etched into every line of her body. "Your wound tight," he said gently, massaging her shoulders. "I might lose everything tomorrow," she whispered. "The company, my position, my father's legacy." "And if you do?" Malik asked softly. She turned sharply. "What do you mean if I do? This company is my life." "No," he said firmly. "Your life is what you're building now. With me, with Amara, with hope. The company isn't your life, it's your job. And you're more than that." His words cut through her panic like light through storm clouds. For the first time, she wondered if maybe he was right, if maybe strength wasn't measured by empires, but by the courage to choose happiness. The next morning, she walked, assisted, but walking, into the boardroom. The whispers hushed. The hostile takeover papers lay on the table. Cassandra stood, spine straight, voice clear. Morrison Tech thinks Sterling Industries is weak because they believe I am weak. They're wrong on both counts. She outlined the company's strongest quarter in history, detailed expansion plans, and silenced doubts with evidence. Finally, when Patricia pressed about her personal scandal, Cassandra met her gaze and said firmly, "My personal happiness has made me a stronger leader, not a weaker one. If that makes headlines, so be it." The board fell silent. Then, one by one, hands raised in support. The takeover was rejected. Later that night, Malik found her on the rooftop terrace, city lights glittering below. She turned to him with tears in her eyes. "I thought I had to choose between love and power. But maybe the real power was love all along." Malik took her hand, smiling softly. "Then let's keep walking forward. Together." 6 months later, the transformation was undeniable. Cassandra, once confined to her chair with little hope, could now stand for extended periods and walk short distances with minimal assistance. Her progress astonished doctors, baffled skeptics, and silenced critics. But to Cassandra, the real miracle wasn't in her legs, it was in her heart. The bond between her and Malik deepened with every session. What began as cautious trust had blossomed into a partnership, a friendship, and then something she could no longer deny: love. Yet the world outside their bubble never stopped watching. The press branded their relationship as scandalous. Journalists speculated about Malik's motives, dissecting his background with ruthless curiosity. Some applauded the love story, others sneered at the audacity of a billionaire CEO falling for a janitor. Through it all, Cassandra held her head high. At shareholder meetings, she declared firmly, "My personal life strengthens my leadership. My resilience in recovery is a model for this company." Her confidence silenced dissenters, but privately, doubts still gnawed at her. One evening, Malik noticed her quiet distraction. "Rough day?" he asked gently, kneeling beside her chair. "Patricia cornered me again," Cassandra admitted. "She said you're using me, for influence, for power. That no man would devote this much time without expecting something in return." Malik's jaw tightened, but his eyes remained calm. "And what do you believe?" Cassandra met his gaze. "I believe in you." Something shifted between them then, an unspoken commitment that neither rumors nor board politics could shake. As weeks turned into months, Cassandra's victories multiplied. Each new step was a triumph, not just for her body, but for her spirit. Malik was always by her side, encouraging her when she faltered, celebrating when she succeeded. Their partnership evolved beyond therapy. It became a life built together. One crisp autumn evening, Malik brought Cassandra to the same rooftop terrace where they had once stared out at the city in uncertainty. The skyline glowed, and the cool air wrapped around them like a promise. "Walk to me," Malik said softly, stepping back. "Malik," Cassandra hesitated. "You know I can only manage a few steps. Trust me." Her heart raced, but she pushed herself up, muscles trembling with effort. One step, another. Her legs wobbled, but she steadied herself, determination blazing in her eyes. She reached him after 10 unassisted steps, more than she had ever managed. "How did I do that?" she gasped, breathless. "Because you were ready," Malik said, his smile radiant. "Your body has been ready for weeks. Your mind just needed to believe." Before she could respond, Malik dropped to one knee. From his pocket, he pulled out a simple diamond ring. "Cassandra Sterling," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You taught me that miracles happen when two people believe in each other completely. Will you marry me?" Cassandra's breath caught, tears spilling down her cheeks. She looked at the man who had once been her janitor, her therapist, her anchor, and now her love. She looked at her own legs which had carried her across the rooftop. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking. Yes, absolutely yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, Cassandra realized the greatest miracle wasn't learning to walk again. It was learning to love and be loved in return. The announcement sent shockwaves through both the business and medical communities. Cassandra Sterling, the paralyzed CEO who defied every prognosis, was marrying the man who had helped make that recovery possible. The media clamored for interviews, but Cassandra refused. "This is our life," she told Malik, "not public consumption." Still, they couldn't escape the spotlight entirely. Planning the wedding proved complicated. Cassandra's high-profile status meant security concerns, and her recent physical progress required careful consideration. "What if I can't walk down the aisle?" Cassandra whispered one evening, fear creeping into her voice. "Then I'll roll you down," Malik replied, kissing her forehead. "Or I'll carry you. Or we'll find another way. Our marriage isn't about a perfect ceremony. It's about choosing each other, every day, for the rest of our lives." His words steadied her heart. Amara, now 6 years old, became the unofficial wedding planner. She insisted on purple flowers. Mommy Maya's favorite color, so she knows we remember her. She demanded chocolate cake, and announced proudly that she would be the flower girl. "She wants everything perfect," Malik said, chuckling as Amara listed her requirements. Cassandra smiled, tears pricking her eyes. "She's including her mother. That's beautiful. She's making sure love stretches across generations." 3 weeks before the wedding, Cassandra stunned even herself. During a therapy evaluation, she walked for 20 minutes straight. The progress was so remarkable that her doctor asked permission to publish her case as a medical study. "Your recovery could inspire thousands," Dr. Harrison said. Cassandra looked at Malik. He nodded. "If our story gives hope, we should share it. But only if you're comfortable." "We'll do it," Cassandra said. "But only if they emphasize that recovery isn't guaranteed. It requires work, determination, and belief." The morning of the wedding arrived with golden sunlight spilling through Cassandra's penthouse windows. Her hands trembled as stylists fussed over her hair and makeup. For all her accomplishments, she had never been more nervous. Then a small voice cut through her fear. "You look beautiful," Amara said, bounding into the room in her purple flower girl dress. "Daddy's going to cry." "Happy tears, I hope," Cassandra whispered. "The happiest," Amara said with certainty. When the music began at the botanical gardens, Cassandra's breath caught. The aisle stretched before her, lined with purple blooms, friends, and colleagues standing in awe. "What if I fall?" she whispered to Janet, her assistant. "Then we help you up and keep going," Janet replied. "But you won't fall. You're stronger than you know." Cassandra drew a deep breath and stepped forward. One step, another. The crowd gasped as she walked, truly walked, down the aisle. At the altar, Malik stood in his purple tie, tears streaming freely. Amara tugged his sleeve and whispered loudly, "Daddy, she's walking!" The guests laughed through their tears. When Cassandra reached him, Malik took her hands. "You're breathtaking," he whispered. "You're crying," she teased softly. "Happy tears?" he said. The vows were simple, but profound. "Malik," Cassandra began, voice trembling, "you came into my life when I had lost hope. You didn't just help me walk again, you helped me live again. You showed me that love isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength of all." Malik's voice was thick with emotion as he replied, "Cassandra, you taught me that miracles aren't just possible. They're inevitable when two people refuse to give up on each other. You made me a better man, a better father, a better human being. I promise to spend every day proving worthy of your love." When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Malik kissed Cassandra as she stood on her own 2 feet, surrounded by purple flowers, family, and the undeniable truth that love had conquered every obstacle. Married life settled around them like a new rhythm, unfamiliar but comforting. Cassandra adjusted to balancing her role as CEO with her new role as wife and stepmother. Malik completed his degree and officially became a licensed physical therapist, celebrated by colleagues and patients alike. Together, they began to dream bigger. What if we opened a rehabilitation center? Malik suggested one evening, spreading out sketches across their dining table. A place where people told you'll never walk again could find hope. Cassandra's eyes lit up. A center that combines medical science with compassion. Sterling, Washington Rehabilitation. It could change lives. Within months, their vision became reality. The facility opened with state-of-the-art equipment, but more importantly, with a philosophy that healing was more than physical. It was about hope. Cassandra managed operations, Malik led therapy, and Amara became the spirited mascot, welcoming patients with smiles. Their first patient was a young veteran with an injury much like Cassandra's. 6 months later, he walked unassisted at his wedding. Cassandra cried as she watched, remembering her own journey. "This is why we're here," Malik whispered, squeezing her hand. "To give people what we were given, the chance to believe." 2 years into their marriage, Cassandra received news that changed everything. She was pregnant. Fear mingled with joy. Her injury made pregnancy high risk. But Malik stood beside her, steady as ever. "You've already defied every prediction," he told her. "We'll face this the same way, together." 9 months later, baby Michael arrived healthy and strong. As Cassandra held him, her body still bearing scars, but her heart fuller than ever, she whispered, "The greatest miracle wasn't walking again. It was building this family." 5 years passed in what felt like a heartbeat. The rehabilitation center expanded, opening branches in underserved communities. Cassandra balanced boardrooms and bedtime stories, proving that leadership wasn't about ruthless isolation, but about building lives worth living. At the center's annual gala, she stood before a crowd of patients, families, and colleagues. Malik stood at her side, Amara and Michael just steps away. Cassandra took the microphone, her voice steady. "5 years ago, I was told I would never walk again," she said. "Tonight, I stand before you to tell you that the most important journey wasn't about moving my legs. It was about opening my heart. Strength is not doing everything alone. It's accepting help, choosing love, and believing in possibilities, even impossible ones." The audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. Malik kissed her cheek, whispering, "Still breathtaking." Later that night, as they tucked their children into bed, Amara looked up and asked softly, "Mommy Cassandra, do you think Mommy Maya is proud of us?" Cassandra's eyes glistened. She glanced at Malik, then knelt by the little girl's bed. "I think she's very proud, sweetheart. Proud that we've built a family full of love. Proud that we're helping others heal. Proud that we never gave up." As the lights dimmed and the children drifted to sleep, Cassandra leaned into Malik's embrace. The city hummed beyond their windows, but inside their home, all was quiet, all was whole. She thought back to that first night, the janitor with the quiet conviction who had dared to promise the impossible. She smiled, knowing now that the promise had been far greater than walking. It had been a promise of life, of love, of family. And as Malik whispered goodnight, she knew one truth would endure above all else. Sometimes the most extraordinary miracles begin with the simplest words. "I'll help you walk."